Quick quiz. What injury law firm has been helping people in the District, Maryland, and Virginia for over 35 years? That's right. It's Greenberg and Betterman. Auto accident? Medical malpractice? Get a free consultation by visiting gblawyers.com and feel better.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading. And thank you for subscribing to the edition of the 12 Kyle Podcast. I am your boy 12. Man, check this out. This episode, what we're going to do is we're going to keep in the continue vein of what we have been doing this year. If you've been following the podcast, you know that we have been interviewing HBCU alums and allowing them to talk about their experience at their particular HBCU. And this episode will be no different. This one's a little bit more special than the others because of the guest. Today's guest is no stranger to the show because he's been on here before. And he's no stranger to me because he is my firstborn. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, our oldest son, Deion, is in the building. Deion, what up, man?
Hey. Welcome. Thank you for having me on the show once again.
Oh, no. Thank you for coming through, man. Thank you for coming through. I got to tell you, man, this has been like one of the things that I wanted to do, particularly when I came up with the idea for the episodes. And people have been following. You know, the first person I had on was Uncle Steve. Of course, he came on and talked about South Carolina State University. And but I definitely had you in mind to come on and talk about your alma mater, Alabama A&M University. So just for those of you who know or don't know, Deion is an alum of Alabama A&M. He is currently in graduate school at Alabama A&M University, seeking his master's degree. So he's been in Huntsville, Alabama for a few years now. And at the time of this recording, he's got, another year? So a year from now, he'll be preparing to graduate with his master's degree. So, but we're not going to talk about your master's. Let's talk about the undergrad experience. So let's start at the beginning. Why did you choose Alabama A&M University to be the school that you would attend?
I mean, the easiest answer is to say the band, but I enjoyed the school when I did go tour. It was interesting. I loved the campus. It was great scenery. It looked like it was being, I wouldn't say built, but it felt like home. It felt like something I could grow into being, somewhere I could make connections, and I felt like I could thrive there. And I say that's what motivated me the most to go. Of course, band kind of carried the rest, and but I say band was probably the main reason why I went. Especially after my band director came to my high school and auditioned me, and I had a couple of friends that were going there as well, so that kind of all helped and definitely pushed me to commit and go here, so to speak.
What was interesting was your process was totally different from anything I had ever seen, really, because you, correct me if I'm wrong, you applied at 6 different HBCUs and you got in all 6. Do you remember the 6 that you applied? Or was it 5? I can't remember.
I applied to A&M. I applied to South Carolina State. I applied to Howard. I applied to
was one Tuskegee?
I didn't apply to Tuskegee. I applied to TSU.
TSU, Tennessee State.
I applied to it was one HBCU here. It was, I want to say it was Savannah State.
Did you? Okay, I don't remember. Was it Alcorn State? It was one of those other SWAC schools. I can't remember.
It wasn't another SWAC school. It wasn't FAM. It wasn't.
Nah.
It wasn't Alcorn for sure.
It was one of those schools, but nonetheless, so you applied to those schools, and what was interesting was, let me just kind of paint the picture for your process as far as your selection, which was it was very interesting to us. So I'll never forget it. Your mom and I, we had planned to visit two schools. We were looking to visit Alabama A&M, which is in Huntsville, Alabama, and then we were going to leave there and go to Tennessee State, which is in Nashville. And I think the tour was at like 9:00 or whatever at Alabama A&M, and then there was a 2:00 tour in Huntsville, in Nashville, and we were maybe 20 minutes into the tour at Alabama A&M, and you looked over and you was like, hey dad, cancel the Tennessee trip. And I was like, what you mean? I was like, we're gonna, when we finish here, we're gonna get something to eat, we're gonna get on the, because it was only like what, hour and a half up the road.
Yeah.
And you was like, nah, we don't need to go. And I was like, what do you mean? He was like, I'm going here. And I looked at you and I looked at Sharice and I was like, are you serious? You was like, yeah, this is where I'm going to school. So what made you stop in the middle of the tour and say, hey, I don't need to see any other schools. This is where I'm going.
I said it's just like, it's easy to say that like God was like, yes, but it just felt like it felt like I belonged here. Like something told me that like my life, this is where my life needs to go. Definitely, cause I mean, I only toured Howard. I didn't tour anywhere else. And I mean, Howard, it felt good too. I would be lying if I said it didn't feel like home. I mean, of course, I've been to South Carolina State several times, so and that was option number one. But it just felt like that's where I needed to go. And I think while I was there, that was it. And I think up until that point, South Carolina State still hadn't accepted me.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I had already told myself that I wanted to know where I was going before Christmas. And I think we went to tour A&M in like November.
No, it was January. It was like the first or second week of January.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So
you wanted to know before the end of January, like where you still with all of the schools.
Yeah. And even up until I felt like when by that time, State hadn't accepted me, I kind of was like, yeah, I don't see it because I don't have time to wait.
Mm-hmm.
And, I don't tell a lot of people this, but I wouldn't say I was crushed, but it bothered me when State did accept me, because it was probably maybe a couple weeks before graduation. And I was like, dang, like, I applied to them first. I applied to them over the summer. So it kind of was like, dang, they took the whole school year for them to accept me. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't bother me as much as it used to. But I used to be like, dang, like, but it's okay. It all worked out.
It all worked out.
So that's why
it worked out.
I was happy that I did make that decision because it was a good one for sure.
Oh, no doubt. And one of the things, and I want to share with everybody that people don't know, or maybe you probably do know if you listen long enough. My wife and I, we met at South Carolina State University. So for our oldest child to be even considering South Carolina State was, a blessing to us. It wasn't something that we made a conscious decision that we weren't going to push our university on any of our children. We wanted to make the option available. Deion sought to, possibly attend South Carolina State University for whatever reason. And I still haven't gotten a clear answer as to what was the process or the holdup, but somebody dropped the ball and it's okay. I'm not tripping because he got into school and he went to where he wanted to go and where he needed to go actually. And, but I'll be honest, we talked about it and there were we had some fellow alums who were like, wow, your kid's at Alabama A&M. And I was like, yeah, because our alma mater didn't, took too long to accept him. But I mean, you ended up going to where you needed to go. So that's all that mattered. So in that process, you mentioned playing in the band. So going to Alabama A&M and playing in the band, the marching maroon and white. What did that mean to you? Because just to give a background, you didn't pick up the trombone until what, the 11th grade, 10th grade?
I played it in sixth grade. I learned the instrument in sixth grade. Then I completely dropped it.
Mm-hmm.
Then I picked it back up, and I had the band class in ninth grade, and I picked it up again. Then I dropped it altogether. Then summer going into the 11th grade, I had a really close friend. He was a drum major, and I was at his house before like they had a summer practice, and he was just like, "Why not do the band?" He was like, "Why not get in band?" Like what? And I'm like, he was like, "Just come on!" Like, and in my head, I'm just like, yeah, because I mean, he was really pushing me to go, and I'm like, okay, and I went following him to practice, and it was an interesting first day of practice, to say the least. But yeah, so it was just crazy how like I picked up the instrument again, and like it literally. Of course, I had to kind of learn. Like I had to kind of reestablish what I already knew. Plus,
Right.
Like I had to kind of match everybody who was like in my section because I'm in 11th grade and everybody has pretty much been playing the horn for a couple years. So
right,
just trying to really catch up and stuff. So that summer, like really tapping in with that instrument was a lot because I felt like there was a significant gap between me and probably the worst player that we had. So I needed to kind of get right. So
of course,
because I definitely was not prepared at all. It's crazy how it just happened and went on from there.
Well, to be honest, I don't know that it necessarily just happened because here's the thing. You had to have some level of talent to go from playing an instrument in the 6th grade, putting it down for a few years, picking it back up seriously in the 11th grade. And you basically got the 11th grade in your senior year to hone in and get good on this instrument for a college, a black college at that, to offer you a scholarship on a band scholarship. That's saying a lot because even if you equate it to sports, you're not going to play football in the 6th grade, stop playing football, become a junior and then pick football back up again and earn a Division I scholarship. That just, it doesn't, could it happen? Yeah. But you got to have talent. So, I think that speaks volumes to your learning process and being able to grasp it all. Do you remember some of your first impressions? Because I distinctly remember us taking you off to college and dropping you off, and with Deion being our oldest of 4 children, he's got 2 younger brothers and a younger sister she's the youngest. One setting the example, he was the first, of my mom's grandkids and really the first in the family of his generation of children to be going off to school. What were your first impressions of the first couple of days on your own at Alabama A&M? No mom, no dad, no supervision, no nothing.
I say it was a shock at first. I mean, it was a comfortable shock. Luckily, I had some fellow freshmen in the band with my freshman siblings in the band, who were in the same position. I mean, you would know, but up to that point, I wasn't away from you all because that long, that consistently, with the intention of not coming back.
Right.
So I think it didn't really hit me until after that first practice ended and I came into the room and I saw my stuff in my room and I'm just like, dang, I'm really here. I can't go home tomorrow. They're not coming back to get me. Nope. It might be in my head it was at least I wasn't gonna see y'all for at least a month. So I knew I had to make it on my own for a month, but I was very blessed to have have my fellow freshman siblings there with me. They made it a bit more comfortable. Some were more comfortable being on their own than others. something that I'm cool with to this very day. They definitely got me through it. Now it was hard ish. I wouldn't say it was too difficult. But for the most part, I adjusted. I learned fast that mommy and daddy, they weren't gonna be there, so I needed to be able to handle some things on my own. So
exactly,
it wasn't too bad. I've heard other stories about other people, and they be going through it, but it didn't happen as bad for me. So I was thankful for that.
Well, I mean, to be honest, that's what we tried to do. We tried to make sure that we prepared you for that moment where you were going to be okay on your own. So you mentioned the band several times, man. I got to ask you, Alabama A&M is one of the best bands in HBCU, one of the best HBCU bands, historically black colleges and university. It's part of the SWAC conference, Southwestern Athletic Conference, where you got a lot of powerhouse bands. What was it like that first performance? You're out there on the field, you got your trombone, you've had endless amount of hours of practice, but now it's showtime. Were there any nerves? What would take me through those moments of the first moments being on the field in front of a couple, 20,000 fans?
Wow, I never actually thought about that. I wasn't nervous. I'll say that. I wasn't nervous at all. My section leader and all of the upperclassmen in my section prepared. I say they properly prepared me and my other fellow freshmen. Like we were prepared. So, Kobe has this saying. He's like, he's only nervous when he knows that he hasn't prepared enough. So, I was more than prepared. I say, and then I've also heard people say like, sometimes practice is harder than the games.
Yeah.
And after how much, and I'll say up until that point, I've never practiced like that before in my life. So with all of the sprints, all of the push-ups, sit-ups, running the stadium. Matter of fact, we had to run the stadium.
Yeah, get you right. Get your wind up.
So running the stadium and then having to stand there and play in front of everybody, looking at the stadium I just ran 2 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't nervous at all. I was actually I would say it happened very fast. So it kind of just happened, and then when it was over, it was kind of like, whew, oh, wow. It makes sense why we do that, because I was definitely gassed, but it was fun. I did enjoy it. I always enjoyed the game. So that first game, it was definitely fun. I do remember. I looked at my homeboy Malik. Like this is my partner. Well, he's really like my close friend. I just looked at him, and he just looked at me. We was just like, like, hey man, like this can get real fast.
That's what you work for.
So, but it was definitely fun. It was definitely fun. I'll say that that first performance was fun for sure.
Definitely. One of the things I always ask people when they come on, obviously being on the HBCU campus, you got class. You got to go to class. So, what was the easiest class that you had on the yard?
Ugh. Easiest class.
You had to have some.
Freshman orientation was the easiest class.
Okay.
It was the easy. Now, granted, we it was the easiest class. We didn't make it as easy, especially when they put most of the freshmen in band. They put us all in the same class.
Oh wow! So was that by design?
First semester, no. Second semester, because it was two. You had to take it first and second semester. So first semester it wasn't. Second semester it was, and it was. I wouldn't say it was bad, but Malik. Me and Malik in the same class. It was fun. I mean, I don't tell people this often, but we actually got kicked out of class one time.
What'd you get kicked out of class for, bro?
Bro,
You're not in high school. You ain't in class. You shouldn't be getting kicked out of no college class, bro.
We was in there cracking jokes, and class was laughing, and then professor was like, she was like, y'all still back there cracking jokes? She was like, Mr. Cheney, you got one more time to laugh, and you will have to leave my classroom. And he said, yes, ma'am. He was like, yes, ma'am. I won't laugh again. And then I think probably like 10 seconds later, I said something. He busted out laughing. He's like, you can leave. And he was like, dang. And then so he went and stood out in the hallway. Probably like 30 seconds later, I started laughing. She was like, Miss Dowling, you can leave too. And the crazy thing is, we had class right before practice. So and we were just standing in the hallway, and our class was it was in the band hall too. So we just standing out there. Drum major come by, why y'all just standing outside? And we just, we just catching some fresh air, but we just ended up I think practice started at 4:00. I think class started at 3, practice started at 4. Mm-hmm. Me and Malik was in there warming up 3:30. Like warmed up. I'm warmed up sitting there watching everybody come in. We was in there that long. So wow. That was our easiest class. We got A's. So we got A's though.
So conversely, what was the hardest class?
Okay, the hardest class. Like my hardest class, or the class I did the worst.
Hardest class. No, because the class you probably did worse is probably the one that you didn't show up for. So I already know the answer to that. So what's the hardest class? Like where you were like, I really got to buckle down because this is no joke.
Because my science classes weren't that hard. Probably world history, only because I don't think the class itself wasn't hard. It was just more so. It was a lot of material. Mm-hmm. It was and it was one of those. It was one of those classes where it was like one professor, and I think it might have been like no less than 40 people in that auditorium. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't really you could just pull up and talk to the professor. Like he might know you, he might not. If you showed up, great. If you didn't show up, you're gonna miss the notes. You're gonna miss the note. And it was really that was a class. I say if you didn't take notes, you was fried because you didn't have to. He told us, he was like, you don't have to get the book. He was like, you can buy the book if you want, but everything. He was like, the book is just a reference for what I'm teaching you. And he was like, everything that you're gonna learn is gonna come off of the PowerPoints. He's like, I take the time to read the book and summarize everything and then provide it in a collegiate. He was like, because the book is a whole bunch of nonsense, but he was like, he had to take what he needed to teach. And I will say, as hard as that class was, it could have definitely been harder. I heard a lot of other people were taking different professors. He made it pretty easy. I was struggling a bit, so I ended up doing the talking to him one time, but other than that, that was probably my toughest class. I had to literally. He was like, "Y'all need to make sure you read," and that was one class I say that if you didn't read, you were going to fail.
Look who showed up! And for those of you watching on YouTube, my wife just popped in, so she's smiling at her baby. Okay, you can move now.
Talk to you later, Deion.
Said hello, mother.
Talk to you later, man.
So the thing I want to find out now from you is, I think I know the answer to this, but I'm interested to get your perspective. What a lot of people don't know, particularly a lot of the alumni from South Carolina State University, where I went to school, the president, who was the president from the time he was president for many years there at Alabama A&M, was Dr. Andrew Hugh Guiney. Now, Andrew Hugh Guiney was my academic advisor when I was at South Carolina State. He not only taught me math, but he also was my academic advisor, and he was president at South Carolina State for a few years before going to Alabama A&M. So I know what kind of man he is. I know what kind of leader he is. What was your take on the faculty and staff of the university at Alabama A&M?
In general, I mean, I've heard mixed reviews.
I mean, just your opinion. Your opinion.
My opinion, they look out for you. They want the best. They're not go. I'll say, faculty aren't going to give you the grade. They're willing to work with you. Like I'll say that they've always been willing to work with you. If you're putting in effort, then they'll be like, okay, like I see it. Like it was a I can't remember what class it was, but it was a class that I wasn't necessarily struggling, but I think I had a C for most of the semester, but I went to every class.
Mm-hmm.
So and I was like, dang, like, and Professor put me aside, like, like, you good? I'm like, I mean, I'm getting the information, but he was like, and he was telling me, like, you don't really see a lot of, like, you got to see in the class. It's kind of like, you be there, but you don't really be paying attention like that. But, it's like, are you ducking and dodging out of class? But no, I was in there faithfully. Like, I mean, it wasn't too hard of a class. It was at 10 in the morning. So, I was up. So it wasn't like I had an excuse to miss it. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I'll say that I wouldn't say he gave me the grade, but I feel like I got the grade I deserve. It wasn't a C, but yeah, for sure. But they just things like that. They look out. Dr. Hugini himself, I see, like, I mean, of course he's a president. Everyone, wants him to, like, he was a president. Everyone wanted him to pretty much do a whole bunch, like, but I feel like for the most part, he did a very good job as president, at least while I was here. Mm-hmm. Luckily I got the chance to meet him. We've had, I wouldn't say several, but we've had a couple of conversations. Further down the line, we had a couple of conversations. I told you this, right?
Oh yeah, you did.
Yeah. So
that put a smile on my face because, I saw a lot of what Dr. Hugini was able to accomplish at Alabama A&M, and for whatever, which I won't get into, he wasn't able to execute a lot of that at South Carolina State from outside forces that prevented him from doing it. But I felt that much better seeing and knowing that when you arrived on that campus, it was under his leadership. And, when the day that you graduated, that was his last day. And he actually gave the commencement speech. So, I felt good about that and felt good about, you being there. So you are one of the few that I know who not only went to where you're currently in grad school at your alma mater, and you didn't take any time off. I know we had talked about it. Any regrets? Because some kids need that break. Some kids want to keep going. Any regrets about just still keeping on and not taking a year or two off before starting, your master's?
No, I'll say, taking a break just depends on who you are and what you want to, core, like deep down, what you can manage to do. I would say, like, I'm not really a big fan of school. Like, I mean, school is what I have to do to get the job done. Like, to get where I want to go, it's like it's kind of like an obstacle in my way. So it's like if I got to go through it to get to what I want, then so be it. And it's definitely been able to get me out of stuff like, oh yeah, I got school, and they're like, oh man, I'm like, yes. But I don't regret it. I feel like that was the best decision for me, honestly. And people always ask, like, well, how do you do it? Like, how do you do it? I'm like, honestly, I don't know. I've been going to school. I've been going to school. Yes, I was like since I was 5.
Right.
or four. Yeah, since I was 4 years old, I've been in
Four.
school
Yeah.
straight. Like I haven't taken. I graduated December, went back to school in January. I felt like it was best for me. I felt like if I would have taken a semester off or a year off, I wouldn't have wanted to go back, and I would have been working a job, or I would have been in a place where I just felt complacent. I know what I've always known what I wanted to or where I wanted to go. And once they told me that a master's degree was probably the only way I can get it, then I was like, well, I'll sacrifice that. But I never, and it's crazy because I never considered taking a break. No matter how many people was like, well, maybe I never in my mind, I was like, nah, we here, so might as well.
Right.
Don't even try to sit down.
And that's interesting because you and your generation had to go through COVID. Having that time where you had to physically leave school and you had to come here back home and be online. And not only you're online, so you're away from your friends, you're away from everything. There's no band, there's no nothing. And now you're back at home with mom and dad and my siblings. And we're all in the house and we're all working, trying to, trying to stay safe at the same time. And that was an adjustment period for all of us. You probably had the biggest adjustment because you were away. Your younger brother Cameron was about to graduate from high school. So he was already here. For you to be away and then having to come home, that was something different. So given the fact, I'm not surprised that you kept going and didn't want to stop. But I think that probably really actually worked in your favor to keep going. Tell me about social life. Huntsville, Alabama is a lot bigger than I thought, but it's not as big as, it's bigger than Orangeburg where I went to school. But what's the social life at Alabama A&M? What was your social life like when you were hanging out?
Honestly, I'll say my undergrad, I didn't really I hung out, but it was more so I really for the majority, I can honestly say I was hanging out with band people. If it was a band, not really band functions, but
you used to go to a lot of kickbacks. You say, "Yeah, Dad, I went to a kickback last night."
Kickback and parties, and I'll say band they was throwing them. They were thrown. I'm talking about, and I'm not really a party guy. I'll go. I'll go out and stuff, but parties, nah. House parties, nah. But a band house party, yes. Because we all, everybody cool, everybody in there. They weren't as wild as the stories I've heard before I got there. Because very lit. I'm talking about, it was definitely some fun times at socially, but I was really hanging with band people. I made connections with others, of course. I had many people, but band function I was going, they might have a little, things that they had on campus. I'll go to that. I'll be out to the point where, I was making friends outside of band, but came to parties or something like that, it was always band related, because that's where regular people wanted to go anyway. Band, I'm telling you, it was one party that my line brother ended up throwing before we even were online or whatever, and it was a lot of band people there, but it was a lot of regular people, just band people got the discount obviously, but a lot of regular people would show up, and it was just
I like how you call them regular people.
we're not regular, but
yeah, I know what you mean.
To us, you're not in the band, you was regular, so it just, football team try to come in there, it was just dang, y'all messing with us like that, and they was yeah, man, the band parties always be lit, and I was just hey, I never would have thought, because I didn't plan on going to parties anyway, but the social life was definitely popping. It was always something to get into, especially being in the band. It was always something to get into. They kept us. That's why I'm so close with people from the band. They all cool. So
makes sense. Makes total sense. before I get you out of here, we gotta leave on this last question. The motto at Alabama A&M is "Start here, go anywhere." Why should a prospective student choose Alabama A&M University to attend for 4 years?
Ooh. It's different. It's I'll say it's a jack of all trades. It's there's a lot of HBCUs who kind of have a lot of the same type of people, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'll say A&M, it's a lot of like people who come from everywhere, people come from different backgrounds. A lot of them be country, but just I was surprised to see how many people like from Atlanta when they like I was surprised, and like people come from Atlanta, Chicago, Detroit, different parts of Alabama, things like that. So I would say this is a university that is for anyone, whether you're black or not. But but definitely if you are African American, yes. I say this college, like, if you want to come here, this college is for everyone. Like, there's some way, shape, or form, you're going to meet people and you're gonna fit in your own right. Like, I find it very difficult, even for the people who aren't as social.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to find people that mess with, because people, I won't say people aren't, everybody's nice here, but you'll be greeted with a smile, or hey, what's up, like, what's going on, like, people are more friendly to speak. It's times where I hoop with a guy that I've never seen before, and after that I see him on campus and it's like, what's going on, and then later on, like maybe a month passed, now every time I see him I'm dapping him up. Mm-hmm. Now I follow him on Instagram. So it just works like that. So if, for any prospective students that want to come to A&M, like, just know you are going to be greeted like everyone is. I won't say everyone. Most people are friendly, and it won't take much to start friendships here, and everyone will make you feel comfortable here. This is a comfortable environment. Line dancing university. So if you like line dancing, I say come here too. Lord, they line dance about have nothing. Oh my goodness, it's all fun. It's all fun and games, all fun. So definitely do recommend if they do were to come. Just be ready for the rain, because if it rain, it pour.
Yeah, it's being and they call your campus the Hill, because it's literally on a couple of hills, and you will, in walking that campus, build up your lower legs. You may cramp up because it's a lot of walking, and it's very, very hilly, but it's a very picturesque campus. I agree with the motto: start here, go anywhere. Because I think that's what definitely happens on that campus. One of the things that I love, not just about Alabama A&M, but all HBCUs, is that, and it's something you kind of alluded to a little earlier, is that everybody on the campus is fully invested in seeing you succeed. And everybody on the campus, if you try, to your point, if you try, they will help you get to where you're trying to go. Now, if you don't try, then you're in trouble. But that's one of the things, and I feel very confident and very happy that your time there has been great, and that you've learned and gained a lot. And we saw the growth in you from the time we dropped you off to the first time we saw you at the first game, and then subsequently on and seeing you graduate. And I tell people all the time, like, the day that I graduated, I floated. But I was on cloud nine the day that you graduated. And that was, that's something that you don't really, as a parent, you don't really mentally think about, because like you said, if you started school at 5, I remember your first day at kindergarten. I remember dropping you off, and I remember we took pictures and everything like that. And the time from that point to seeing you graduate went like that. I mean, like, just so fast. So yeah, we definitely are happy that you chose Alabama A&M. That's going to do it for us. So I want to thank my main man, for coming through. I appreciate you coming
Thank
through
you.
for your
Thank
old
you.
man. Definitely got to have you back on again. We'll do something probably this summer when you're here for summer break. Want to thank all of you for watching and on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you download, subscribe, hit that like button, get the notifications, and leave comments if you like on YouTube. Spotify, you can leave comments on there as well. We're also on Apple Podcasts, all the podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, that's where we are. And you can follow me on the socials at 12 Kyle across the board: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter X, Threads, and 12 Kyle Podcast, Twitter X, Facebook, Instagram, as well as TikTok. We got our own TikTok page. On the YouTube page, we have audio and video of each and every episode. So make sure you pass the word. And if you feel so inclined, you want to throw us a couple of dollars, we won't turn them down. $TWELVEKYLE on Cash App. And also in the description box, you see a link. It says merch. We now have 12 Kyle Podcast t-shirts, hoodies, and posters and mugs. Get you one, get some more for a Christmas gift as well. So that's going to do it for us, for my son, my firstborn. I love you. Thank you. Deion, for coming through. I am your boy 12 Kyle. We'll catch you guys next time. 5Gs.
¿Quieres mejor internet? Cox Internet de 300 megas tiene las velocidades rápidas y confiables que buscas. Perfecto para streaming y gaming y trabajar desde casa. Yeah. Todo por solo $45 al mes cuando agregas Cox Mobile. Incluye equipo de Wi-Fi y garantía de precio de 2 años en tu plan. Yeah. No esperes. Cámbiate hoy a Cox. Requiere Cox Mobile Gig Unlimited. Garantía de precio no incluye impuestos y cargos. Velocidad de datos móviles se reduce después de 20 gigas al mes.
If you work in university maintenance, Grainger considers you an MVP because your playbook ensures your arena is always ready for tip-off. And Grainger is your trusted partner, offering the products you need all in one place, from HVAC and plumbing supplies to lighting and more, and all delivered with plenty of time left on the clock, so your team always gets the win. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, visit Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.